You see the Druski and Odell stuff? I did. We can talk about that in a bit. Because I follow the P. Diddy stuff, so when the Druski Odell thing dropped, that was pretty surprising. But I got some thoughts on that. We'll talk about it in a minute. I'm sure the court documents are in here, right? So, many of you know I've been following the P. Diddy case pretty closely. So yesterday, oh no, it was 2 days ago now, right? Yeah, it was 2 days ago now. There was an amendment to a civil case from someone named Ashley Parham. And in this amendment, she named Odell Beckham Jr. and Druski. And when it first dropped, it read like it was complete, like a joke thing. It almost felt like it was someone just playing like a prank for a Druski sketch. So it dropped and it had things like this. Instead of immediately raping plaintiff, defendant Druski doused plaintiff with more oil/lubricant, then jumped on top of plaintiff's naked and oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide, knocking the wind out of plaintiff due to his enormous size. That's like the least professional court exhibit I've ever read. They're referring to him as Druski, which you see that sometimes in court documents that I've looked at. Like, you'll sometimes see them refer to them by, like, their alias. That's not the most alarming thing, but it's this, saying, treated it like a slip and slide, and knocking the wind out of plaintiff due to his enormous size. Like, it sounds like they wrote it as a joke. Defendant Druski then caught himself from sliding over plaintiff's oiled body and off the bed, and began raping plaintiff vaginally. When defendant Druski was raping plaintiff, defendant Diddy sat in a chair near the bed and began masturbating while recording plaintiff rape by defendant Druski. Like, these are horrifying allegations. I can't even picture what this even looks like. Like, how do you even treat a human body like a slip and slide? Like, you're not going very far. Like, unless you're, like, sliding across, like, I don't even know, fucking Andre the Giant's body or something, you're not gonna, like, actually slide or anything. It's just more like a WWE move. So, I feel like a lot of people read this and immediately put a lot of stock into the claims because it is an actual court amendment. She added this to an ongoing civil lawsuit. I feel like it's worth mentioning. Of course, I don't know everything about everything that happened. I know P. Diddy is an absolute evil menace. Yes, Druski did know P. Diddy, but I really would be surprised if any of these claims were true. It's alleged to have happened in 2018. Druski had just started doing content in 2017. He would not have been at the size to get P. Diddy's attention and be part of this clique. When they had that, like, sketches together, it was 2020. So the timeline doesn't make too much sense for Druski being at one of these parties for this, though you could also make the argument that Druski blew up so quick, maybe he was, like, already in touch with the industry and would have been, like, a friend of P. Diddy. Possible, I suppose. But to me, it feels so outrageous, and Ashley Parham, in her initial civil court case, had some really, really interesting claims. I'll pull them up real quick for people that don't know. This was before the amendment, before she added Druski and Odell Beckham Jr. So, she was claiming that her rape was payback for a comment she made about Diddy being associated with Tupac's murder. And as an act of revenge, Diddy engaged in a violent gangbang-style rape of her. And then it gets very unhinged. She claimed that after it happened, he asked, "Why haven't we partied like this before?" And then she got enraged. It's not a party, confronting him on it. And then she claims that P. Diddy called his mother on FaceTime, who yelled at her to not hurt Diddy, saying to take the money. So after this rape, P. Diddy called his mother on FaceTime to talk to the victim to convince her to take hush money. Which she didn't. She yelled back, didn't take the money, and said she managed to escape the party after noise complaints from neighbors. So a neighbor came by to see what was going on, and a bodyguard turned a gun on him and told him to go away. That is something, like in a different case, that has happened before where like a bodyguard has pulled a weapon out. That's very possible. But the neighbor came by, see what was going on, a gun got pulled out. She said he then came back and created a distraction for her to run. How did he even know she was there? Also, what kind of neighbor is getting a gun pulled on them, not calling the police, but instead coming back to be a diversion for someone he didn't even know was there? That doesn't really compute. So then she said she ran towards the neighbor's house, and P. Diddy started firing the gun at her. So literally just airing it out outside in the street. And then her and that neighbor jumped behind a car and escaped. So then claims the neighbor called the police, and an officer showed up and couldn't have cared less. I feel like there would have been a lot of calls to the police with gunshots in that area. Just all out in the open, like a ton of gunshots going on. Police probably wouldn't have taken that lightly at all. Saying the police officer didn't offer an ambulance or anything, told him that Diddy had raped her, and he just left. You can maybe make an argument that P. Diddy paid off the police departments. Maybe. But again, I feel like you'd easily be able to corroborate calls to the police department. She claimed that she called multiple police departments, 3 police departments about it. I don't understand. And then after speaking with police, she went back to the rape scene to get her belongings, and that they weren't there anymore. Like, I feel like it'd be a really easy thing to prove with the police department calls and the shooting in public. So the Druski claims and the Odell Beckham Jr. claims in this lawsuit, to me, don't really add up at all. Like, P. Diddy is guilty of so many things, but this doesn't seem like it is overly likely to be accurate. But why pick Druski if you were to make it up? Well, because he's known to have been at P. Diddy parties. He's even mentioned that he's been to P. Diddy parties. It'd be a really easy person to throw in there. Like, you couldn't just choose Tom Cruise. Well, I don't know. Actually, Tom Cruise probably did go to Diddy parties. You couldn't just choose like a random person who's never been associated with Diddy and immediately just get called out. But Druski has done sketches with Diddy. So there is a connection there. So you could easily put him in there and have people like instantly believe it because they know he's gone to the parties. So I mean, I don't know. P. Diddy is a fucking monster, and he's done like incredibly fucked up things. Like, I imagine there has been times where he has open fired, like just airing it out on the street. Probably has happened. He fucking blew up a car. So like, it is possible, but all of these things in conjunction, like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, he called his mom on FaceTime after raping a woman to convince the woman to take the hush money, and then a random neighbor who hasn't been listed as someone they're even calling on to like testify or like give their piece or anything, that just anonymous neighbor comes through and then acts as a diversion to save her, even though he had no idea who she was or what was going on, but he came back specifically to be a diversion for her. I don't know about that. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm sure we'll see. It is a civil lawsuit, so there will be more coming from it. I'm right now just in the camp that it seems a little outrageous to have happened the way that it's described. I don't think she's saying the cop intentionally distracted them for her to escape. It wasn't a cop, it was the neighbor. The neighbor came by to see what was going on. Bodyguard turned a gun on him, told him to go away. So this neighbor, a random dude, who was complaining about noise, showed up at the house, got a gun pulled on him, left, then came back to create a distraction for her. How would he even know? I thought it was the cop coming back. Nope, it's the neighbor. Because then she escaped with the neighbor. Neighbor jumped behind a car and she followed him to escape while they're both being shot at. We'll see. It just, I don't know. That doesn't really compute. And also the timeline doesn't make sense for Druski in particular. 2018, he was legitimately not like a big figure online or anywhere. He didn't blow up until early 2020. And that's when he did like the sketches with Diddy. But we'll see. 2018, Druski literally homeless and had to live with his mom. Yeah, I read his statement. Druski did put out a statement.